Hey everyone, welcome to The Grid. I'm Ian McCormick with Brad Moore.
How's it going, everybody?
We are your hosts today. Now, before you go, oh no, it's not Scott, it's not RC, no, I'm not watching. We have a really cool show today, right?
We almost didn't, but then I think your husband actually mentioned this idea.
Oh, we're gonna give him, we're gonna give him the credit. And we've put something together that's really neat. First of all, where are the guys?
Well, Scott's still down in Australia, New Zealand, somewhere down there on the other side of the world, and then all the other guys are out at Adobe Max, the big conference. So they're doing stuff out there.
So it's just us. But we have put together a show that I think is going to be really cool. It's called The Hot Seat. And the concept behind it is, you know, we have guests on this show all the time that are really the top 1% in the industry. You know, Joe McNally, Joel Grimes, Elsa Garrison, Dave Black. These are the people that are at the very top of their game. And when they leave, they kind of impart a lot of knowledge here, you know, motivation, technique, how they handle situations. But all of us creatives all have our own tips and ways that we handle things. And who's to say that anything that anybody else has to say, really, it's just as important. We all have our own tips and techniques that work for us. And here at Kelby, we work with a bunch of creatives who do this stuff every day. So Brad and I thought that we'd ask
invite some of them on.
Some of the people to come on and share those tips with us.
But before we do, let's talk about our prizes. We got some giveaways for you guys. So this is Scott Kelby's brand new book, the best of the digital photography book. So what he did on this one is he went through all 5 of his other digital photography books and pulled the best tips and tricks, and actually also wrote a new chapter for people who are coming from the iPhone and jumping into their first DSLR. So all sorts of tips on wedding stuff and landscape stuff and portrait stuff and lighting and all the good things. So we're going to give somebody a copy of that. And we have a couple of download classes we're going to give you guys because we're talking about a couple of these things on the show today. First one is the aerial video photography using quadcopters bundle, and then a beginner's guide to wildlife photography. So we're going to give you guys those. And since we just talked about Adobe Max, Corey Barker is out at Adobe Max. So we're going to give away signed copies of his Photoshop Down and Dirty Tricks books.
Lots of prizes today. I love it. So
we'll talk more about those at the end of the show and tell you how to enter to win. But first, and now.
We're going to get started. Some of the people that you see today are going to be people you're very familiar with, if you're familiar with people here at Kelby. And some you will have never seen before. Some have actually never even been on camera before.
They're not nervous at all.
No. So we've pulled them in because they have really good information to share.
Great info.
But why would you stay and listen? Because who knows what we're going to cover over the next hour, right? Well, I've actually compiled a list. I wouldn't expect you to stay without knowing some of the stuff that you're going to hear, of the tips that you're going to get. So very quickly, you're going to learn in the next hour about shooting in challenging or restricted places, capturing animals, long exposure / light painting technique that I think is really cool and want to try tonight when I go home, business tips to CYA, great aerial images and video from a drone, bringing depth and dimension to a scene with light, and a Photoshop technique. Actually, we're going to show you how that camera was put together on the cover of Scott's book. We're going to show you the Photoshop technique for that, and how to capture real expression. So if any of those sound like tips that could help you, stick around. And if you have some tips on any of those subjects, write them in the chat and let people know. This is a forum. This is a photography community. So who's first, Brad, in the hot seat?
First up, Mr. Cheap Shots himself, Larry Becker.
Welcome, Larry.
Guys.
Oh,
Glad
got
to
that
be here.
nice red light. You can see he's in the hot seat with the red lights and the sign that doesn't look like a 7th grader made it.
I'm feeling pretty warm. Okay, so you called me Mr. Cheap Shot. So what I used to do all the time is inexpensive solutions for photography, because obviously we want to put all our money into really good gear, like good cameras and good lenses, and you don't always have to buy the top of the line other stuff. And in doing that, I interviewed a lot of people, and I actually stole this tip from David Hobby, and I started carrying this around in my car all the time. And what it is, it allows me to take pictures. Like I sent one over to Brad so he can show you guys what it looks like. Basically what I did was, on my drive to work one day, I saw this beautiful sunrise and I wanted to stop and take a picture. Now this is interstate highway, so you don't stop on the side of an interstate. Well, you're not supposed to stop on the side of an interstate.
But somebody might flag you down and find out what you're doing and ask you to move along.
Exactly. So this is what I learned from David Hobby. So I carry this in my car. It's just a typical clipboard. And by the way, you can use these behind the scenes at a lot of I guess, arenas and venues like that. You walk down the back hallways, and if you're carrying a clipboard, nobody asks you any questions. And take your cell phone out and put it on there. But I'll show you.
I might disagree with that, too.
I'm not telling you to do that. That would be bad. But what I carry inside mine is, first of all, I have a couple model releases, and that's not a big surprise, but that's kind of a neat thing to carry in there. But this is actually what I carry in there, this safety vest. So I put this on, and you can walk down the side of the highway with a camera, of course, and the
this
safety
is pretty
vest.
sneaky.
Yeah, I know. And then with the clipboard, that kind of sells it. I don't have the hard hat. It just takes up too much space in my trunk. But you can carry a hard hat with you. If you drive a white pickup truck, you are so in. Nobody ever questions the white pickup truck.
So wait, I have to ask here.
Yeah.
Can you get arrested for this?
Probably.
Larry is not a lawyer.
This is a tip.
Now, I don't know that there's any law against impersonating somebody wearing an orange vest. I mean, that's all you're doing. But what it is it just turns off people's conscious radar. They are going, what is that guy doing walking down the side of the road? Oh, he's got a safety vest and a clipboard. It's okay. And they just don't even think about it. So you can go
slide under the radar.
Yeah, you can kind of walk out on bridges. You know, I'm not telling you to do anything dangerous or anything illegal, but when you want to stop and take a picture in places where people don't normally get to take pictures, that's one way to do it and also be a little bit safe. And one other one from David Hobby is the orange cone. He will scout out in advance, like he'll go out to an air show, and he'll say, I want to park there tomorrow. And he'll put out orange cones, and nobody asks questions about the orange cones. Now, my son has some orange cones from soccer, so I took some of these orange cones and put them out in the parking lot in the air show when I wanted to go out and shoot. And you just pick them up when you go and park. But you save your own parking place in advance.
These are really DIY things that you can do.
For sure, yeah.
All right, Larry, thanks so much.
Yeah.
When is your class? You're working on a class?
Yeah, I'm actually working on a class right now for Kelby Training. I used to do this segment for D-Town TV and for the different things that we did. I did it in the magazine, and I actually did it online as well. Just a whole lot of inexpensive solutions for photographers, ways to save money on gear. And Scott asked me to pull some of my better ones together. I got enough for 3 classes, but he asked me to pull some of my better ones together, put it into a class. So in the coming weeks, we're going to be filming that for Kelby Training.
All right. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Larry.
Thanks.
So, Brad, do you have your safety vest?
No, I do not.
Have you ever used a safety vest on the side of the road?
No, I have not.
Something about that. I don't know. It sounds like it would work.
Nor have I
think it would work, but it feels a little bit sneaky.
Nor have I used a clipboard to get backstage at a concert, because I don't think it would work.
Yeah, but you know what? You have photo credentials, usually. So that's not everybody's able to get that.
You might be able to get back there, but you're not going to be staying there very long before you get kicked out. Guarantee you.
But you could at least get one shot and say you were there. Okay, next up in the hot seat is Mr. John McQuiston. Hey, John.
How are you?
So John does some of our stuff here for B&H and for Canon. He's our on-camera talent, and we actually both come from a news background, which is interesting, right?
Television news refugees, yes.
Right, but one thing that I noticed is all of the stuff that you put, if you follow him on Twitter, it's at PhotoQuist. He has awesome images of animals. And I'm like, how do you get these shots? Give us some idea, some of the settings or what you do.
Well, first of all, normally they're shots at the zoo. So I'm cheating a little bit. It's like a canned hunt because the animals are in somewhat of an enclosed space. But even then you have challenges. So there are certain things I try to do when I go to the zoo to make sure that I get good shots. And we'll show a couple of them as we go along here. But really one thing, for instance, this is a lorikeet, and one of the things you can do at the zoo is, and we're talking about Lowry Park Zoo in Tampa, that's the one I go to normally. They're in an enclosure where you're going in with them. So as best I can, I try to be able to shoot in places where there's nothing between me, like a fence or a screen, as much as I can between me and the animal. Now you can get fairly close to these animals because they even sell little cups of sugar water that people can feed to them. So they're accustomed to people, they're accustomed to being close to you, and you can get fairly close to them. So they're a good subject to tackle. But one thing you'll notice also, in all the shots we show, skies are overcast. Zoos are open like Lowry Park Zoo is 9:30 to 5. So you're not going to get the early morning soft light. You're going to go during the mid part of the day. If it's sunny, you're going to get harsh shadows. You're going to get the really bright blowing out light that's going to make it difficult. Now, the one we just saw there, that squirrel monkey, okay, that was shot through a mesh screen. It's in an enclosure. Now, what that's going to do is you're going to have to either raise your ISO or maybe open your aperture, something to keep your shutter speed high enough because these things move around a lot. But even through that, the camera can see fairly well through a screen if the animal is far enough away from the screen. If they're right up against it, it's going to be really hard.
What were you shooting this with? What camera?
That one was with actually that's the Canon 5D SR, the new one. So wonderful camera. Yeah, that's, by the way, I know there are people who watch this and are envious enough of what we do, so I promise when I say this, I'm not rubbing your nose in it, but there are literally days, because we do videos for Canon and do classes on Nikon cameras, that my job has been, take this camera, go to the zoo and take pictures. And I get to write on my time card and get paid for that. That is the coolest thing ever. Now, I love to get faces, but that last shot of the orangutan we showed, sometimes it's good when you can't see their face. And I don't know if there's, I don't know how spiritual orangutans are, but
it's interesting,
it gives you, yes, it gives you a kind of feeling about that. So I really like that one. Now, the next shot there that Brad had posted, that's a serval. And this is a cat that in Africa can jump 15 feet high, and it's always looking up in search of a meal. And one thing I like about, and there's actually a couple of the shots in here have the tongue out. And I don't know what it is, but one thing about a photograph that I really like is when you get, like when you, not interrupt, but when you capture a moment in progress. Like the tongue on the nose there, like it's licking its chops. And so that's one thing I really, also, this one was slightly cropped because it had a collar on. And one thing I try to do, and you see a lot of the shots are just heads, because one thing I try to do is I don't want people to see the artificial environment they're in. I want people not to say, oh, that's a nice picture at the zoo. I want them to think, wow, look at that animal. There's a lorikeet there. That one, again, they'll get close to you. That was probably 18 inches from me. I had a Canon 70D with the 24 to 105, so not even real long reach. The thing about that giraffe, that shot was nearly a mistake, because I was just kind of hanging out, and this thing loomed in at me, and I just rushed to get the camera shot up and take a picture, and I couldn't adjust the focus where the focus was going to be, because normally you focus on the eyes for an animal. That's what they tell you. Focus on the eyes. Scott Kelby says that, everybody else. I got its nose, and I thought at first, oh, I missed it. And when I got home and looked at it, I thought, that's really cool. I like that.
That's an awesome image.
So sometimes it's good to, here's another tongue shot. And this was actually with the Canon T6, like the Rebel. So it was a consumer camera. Now, I had a good lens on it, but you know, you don't necessarily need the 1DX or the 7D Mark II, although if you can, shoot with those, because I do and I can. But you can get good shots. I've gotten good shots with point and shoots at the zoo. But you'll see again, like I think there's a tiger shot here. One of the things I try to do is you have to be patient, because the tiger sometimes doesn't just sit there and pose for you like this. They're pacing around. You have to, and I'll sit and just sit. And you know, normally you go to the zoo with your family, you're like, oh, tiger, hey, great. And then you walk away. I will sit there for 15 or 20 minutes just waiting for the shot. And sometimes I shoot over and over again. I might take 100 shots at that tiger and delete 98 of them. And then I get that one, and it makes it worth it.
I like how you crop in real close on all of that, like you said, to keep out everything that looks artificial, everything that says exactly where you are, because then your focus is only drawn.
Yes, and I try to pay attention to the backgrounds, because at the zoo, lots of times the backgrounds look artificial. So I try to make it where the background is either green or brown or something that you would find in nature, so that it, again, people are focused on the animal and its face and its expression and what it's doing, and not, oh, he's at the zoo.
Nice.
So just to recap, shoot as close as you can.
Use a long lens if you can. Lots of times I was a 300 or 400 millimeter lens, even on a crop sensor camera to get me even closer.
Shoot when it's overcast.
Yes, shoot when it's overcast. Sometimes, like in the enclosure where the lorikeet is, there is some cover, but sun still gets through. So yes.
And watch your backgrounds.
And watch your backgrounds. Excellent, yeah.
Awesome job. Way to go on the hot seat,
All
John.
right, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Next
up.
It's great that we actually have a giveaway,
yes,
right, to go with that. We're doing the wildlife photography. So if you want to learn more about shooting wildlife or anything like that, we have a giveaway for it here.
We do.
So
next up, we have Rachel Sykes, who's part of the B&H production team as well. And she's going to talk about doing some long exposure, like writing at night.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah?
Yeah. So It's nighttime. You have, your classic car streaks in the background, and you want to add a little extra stuff to it. So I one day had a flashlight, and I started, writing backwards. You have to write backwards. And I just looked at
That's a good tip. You have to write backwards.
Yeah, you have to write backwards. So, first off, you see a busy city, you get the lights, and then you just add another element to it. So, South Beach,
nice.
Miami, you got the neon lights, and then, you add, the...
So you add in a little bit with the lights that you're using, and you actually I love that one with the flat iron.
Yeah.
I think this is so cool, Rachel. Yeah. It's like such a simple little thing.
And even if you don't have a flashlight, I use actually just the light on my camera phone. Oh. So I use the flash, I turn it on, and if you see, you see the light, and you still get to write that way, and you have the option, turn it off and turn it on, so you get the control that you want.
So what kind of settings are you working with when you're doing something like this? I mean, obviously this is long exposure.
Right, so obviously I want to keep my ISO down, so as low as possible, oftentimes ISO 100. The great thing about it is you don't need a fast lens, so even if you have like a kit lens or just a regular lens, just open it. I usually shoot between f8 and f16, so that's usually the sweet spots. And, just intervalometer and a tripod also helps, and that's it.
Nice. There's a couple other shots that she's done. Yeah, so pull this one up because I love these. Rachel I call her our tinkerer because she just like makes stuff all the time. She made me this cool, well, she didn't make it for me. She had it already. It's a cool egg timer for a panoramic GoPro time-lapse shot. But for this shot and a couple others like it, let's see the next one that you've got up there. Yeah, so stuff like this, she actually...
Steel wool.
Okay,
yeah,
so that's steel wool.
That's steel wool. The shot before that,
the previous shot,
is it's like an LED orb.
Yeah.
So basically, if you see, I got so it's a battery operated LED light. Huh. So string lights, and you get them and you kind of bunch them up together. And I used electrical tape, and it's battery operated. So I also have control. So I'm able to swing it in a circle as I spin in a circle, and that's how you get that 3D orb.
Oh yeah, hang on. So pull that back up. Yeah, let's see that one more time. Let's see that orb one more time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're standing in the middle,
see,
swinging it.
If you really look closely, you can see a little blur in the middle. That's me moving. And what I usually do is I get like a quarter, and I put it on the floor, and I try to aim the light to swing over the quarter every single time, so you get that perfect sphere look.
That is so cool. And then wait, no, so the next two are steel wool, right? And we've heard about this technique before.
Yes.
I've heard about it. But I just thought your stuff came out. It looks so... What were you shooting, actually, with this? What camera were you shooting?
5D Mark II, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So
how long is the shutter staying open for most of these?
25 seconds,
okay.
20, 25 seconds. So it's not, super long. I know some people do it for like 2 minutes, but I try to give myself enough time to cover the frame. So
gotcha.
I'm actually running backwards there.
Okay.
And obviously it's at the beach, so that's like a little disclaimer. Do not choose to do something like this in an area that's a little drier or that you can catch something on fire. At the beach is great because you have an unlimited supply of water, so that stuff
Fall
helps.
in your backyard's not a good idea.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, finish raking and you're like, hey, let's do this. Don't do that.
Again, with the tinkering, show me the contraption that you've put together for this.
This is just a whisk, kitchen appliance, a carabiner clip, and then just some regular chain from the hardware store.
I mean, this looks like something you're gonna beat somebody with. It's like the chain and
it's
the
like
whisk.
a cat of nine tails or
something.
something.
Yeah. Cook with a mission. So,
but yeah, and then
the steel wool goes in here?
The steel wool, yeah, you open it up, you stuff it in there, and steel wool has different grades. So 00, 000 is kind of what it's thick enough, but not too thin to where it'll burn fast. And you light it with a little lighter, and the oxygen coming through to the steel wool allows it to catch fire, and it kind of the motion allows it to kind of spread around, and so that's why you get all those little
sparks and stuff. Yeah, she's got one more shot that I want to see at the end. Is that the end? That's the end.
Nope, that's the end. Yeah.
You took the one out that I liked so much.
Yeah, it's the one where you spin it in a circle, but yeah.
Great stuff, Rachel. Well, thank you so much. You survived the hot seat.
Thank you.
We had to talk her into that a little bit today,
yeah.
so I'm glad that she came on and shared with us. I think it's
time for a quick break. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, we got some drone tips and some CYA, aka cover your butt business tips. So
thanks for clarifying
yes.
that. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel Gregory, a fine art photographer from Seattle, Washington. Join me in my new class where we really kind of leave behind the more technical aspects of photography like f-stops and shutter speed and start to focus on really the introspective side of photography and creating work that matters to you. So join me as I sit down with Mia McCormick, RC Concepcion, where we really look and break down what is the intention and meaning behind your work. I'm Daniel Gregory. Come check out my class on visual literacy and speaking about your work at Kelbyone.
My name is Steve Hansen. I'm a commercial food and beverage photographer. Come check out my class on food photography and lighting and styling. We're going to be going over a variety of things like the Broncolor Scoro. We're going to be looking at the Westcott Ice Light and numerous different and ways of manipulating light on food to make it look absolutely amazing. So come check out my class in Kelbyone.
Yes, I'm back. Yeah.
Welcome back. Our next person that is in the hot seat is our executive producer here, Jen Coffin. So she's the executive producer of our business department, of our video department.
Yes.
But she's got some fantastic tips, business tips for photographers, because you did a lot of work with this organizing photo shoots and major productions in LA before you came here and worked for us.
Yeah, I worked there for 10 years, and I've worked on some of the biggest sets in the world, on the biggest shoots, and it was amazing, and now I'm here, and we're making a lot of progress here, and we're doing amazing things, so yeah.
And what I love about your tips is that they will save you money if you really listen to them, because they're things that you might even think and you already know in your head, but you're like, well, maybe I don't have to do that, but they're so important.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so I'll get started. My very first tip is to negotiate. A lot of people, especially when they're just getting started, they are too afraid to negotiate, especially women. Women are just so terrible at this because
it's true.
Yeah, it is. I swear. I don't know what it is, but I guess they just don't feel confident enough to negotiate for a higher rate. So if you are a photographer and you're getting started, make sure that you do not do any shoot at all unless you have negotiated a good rate for yourself. And then also, if you're hiring vendors, make sure you negotiate with them as well. Because a lot of times people don't understand that those are just, if you ask someone how much you charge for whatever, that's pretty much a list price. And you can negotiate them down to a better price. You know,
that's great for people just starting out, because you think you have to pay what you see. If somebody tells you, you think, you don't know that, you know, it's like on the streets of where you can bargain them down, you know? You can.
It's like buying a car. It's like you're not going to go in there and go, oh, that's the price for a car. Okay, no problem. I'll pay that, you know? You're going to negotiate it down. So do not be afraid to negotiate. That's the first tip. And then my next tip is, this is a big one. Especially for people who are just getting started, you have to get the scope of the entire shoot in writing before you begin. You have to get your model list assigned before you take your very first photo. And it does not matter if you're just doing a trade, it doesn't matter. You have to get everything worked out before you start shooting, because that is when you have all the leverage. So if you're doing, say, a trade, and this was an example I gave you earlier, I actually love to shoot boudoir photography. And when I was getting started, I photographed a friend of mine, and she was like, okay, you know, I'll be your model, and if there are any nice photos, you can put them on your website, and then I'll give the photos to her now husband. So this was a verbal agreement. We were great friends. I trusted her. And I did all this work, and these photos came out so wonderful. And then her boyfriend did not want the photos to be put online. So it caused a huge strain in our friendship, and I don't have a leg to stand on because I got nothing in writing.
And business-wise, you got screwed.
I got screwed, exactly. And actually, from that shoot, there's one of my favorite photos that I have ever taken in my entire life, and nobody can see it. Wow. And yeah, it's just terrible. And then there's one other example where someone else who works here, he was dating a woman who has a 4-year-old daughter. And he wanted to build up his portfolio. So he took photos of her daughter, and they're adorable at a pumpkin patch, I think. And he put them on his website to get work, and then they broke up. And she emailed him and said, remove the photos of my child.
You know, I think that wedding photographers run into this all the time, where they have stuff that they put out that they want to be in their portfolio, that they want to bring other people in, and then a couple years later, forever wasn't forever, and people will say to them, take that down. I don't want you using that photo of us together anymore. But if you have the model release, if you know you're shooting and you want to be able to use it for your own purposes, if you have that release, you're covered.
You're covered, exactly. And then my very last tip, and this is especially good for people just getting started, is that when you are delivering the photos to the talent, they are going to be very, very excited when they first receive the photos. That is going to be the most excited that they're going to be. So when you send them the photos, you want to make sure that those photos are ready to be posted online, that those photos are retouched, and if they're not retouched, then you want to put a giant watermark over them so they can't put them online. Because I've had that too, where I send people some photos and I say, don't put these up, and you know, it's dark in the corner because I didn't like the seamless properly or something like that, and they go ahead and they post them, and you're like, no. So a good tip is to make sure that whatever you send them is ready to be posted online, and going even further, a good way to get your name out there is to do the reveal on like Facebook or Instagram or something like that. So the first time they see their photos is online. And this is a great thing because they will show their excitement, they'll write about how excited they are about the photos, how much they love them, they'll share them with people, those people will share them with other people, and that's basically free publicity.
And that's something that you can write right in there up front and let them know, hey, this is how I work, this is how, you know, because it builds your following and builds your recognition too.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
Excellent job in the hot seat, Jen.
Well,
Thank you very much.
It.
Thank you. Applause for Jen.
Thanks.
All right, next, so those are great tips. So get your model release, make sure the pictures are completely done before you give them to the client. And then the first one was, we don't remember, but it was a good tip. I'm sure it was.
Well, part of it,
negotiate, especially with vendors.
Part of it is like while the camera's on them, I'm also looking at the chat, seeing what you guys are saying that are watching live. So
well, I hope you guys are sharing some tips there, right?
Yeah, they're good.
Good. Okay.
Next up, we have Chuck Willard.
Chuck Willard. Hi, Chuck.
Hi.
You're in the hot seat.
It's hot. A lot of people have been sitting here. It's gotten pretty hot.
Chuck is a videographer here in our Kelbyone production department, and Chuck and I have also worked together for a while in news, but he is the expert. So I have a class coming out this week with John, who was here earlier, on flying your DJI Phantom 3, getting ready to fly and capture great footage. And the guy that I go to help me if I'm stuck with something or if I want to change the exposure in air or something like that, the guy I ask about aerial footage is Chuck.
Yeah.
Because he's been flying them for a while now.
Well, I feel bad because everybody, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brad.
No, I'm just going to toot your horn a little bit for you. He's done a lot of great video work with the aerial stuff. And even our Photoshop World keynote video last year when we did the Pirates theme.
Yeah, remember the opening shot over the boat? There was
we were out on this pirate ship in the middle of Tampa Bay, and then there's like, I think Chuck and one of our other guys were out on a smaller boat, like trying to do this footage as they kind of sweep by the boat and stuff, and it turned out really nice.
Very, very nerve-wracking because the quadcopter would go below the boat, and the waves were coming up, and you know, this is over $1,000 piece of equipment, and if you lose it in the salt water, it's gone forever.
Exactly.
So
what you got for us, Chuck?
Basically, everybody's buying these, you know, quadcopters. This is the newest one, and this is what our next class is on. This is the Phantom 3. Basically, what I want everybody to be careful of, if you do buy one of these, make sure you get really, really good at it and practice in a wide open space. Because what a lot of people are doing is they're going out and they're thinking they can just fly it right away, and they're crashing them. And it's making a bad name for them. But just practice, 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 practice. The biggest thing you can do with these is a Steadicam. You can use it as a Steadicam. You can take the propellers off of it. If you want to walk on the ground with it, it can be just like a Steadicam if you walk with it.
Huh, I hadn't even thought of that.
And you can just operate it just like a Steadicam. It's just as smooth as a Steadicam.
So you kind of get that same effortless look. For people who might not know what a Steadicam is, anytime you see kind of like that moving shot that looks like it's kind of a floating effortless shot when you're moving with a subject for video, that's usually a Steadicam operator, which is like a vest that goes over.
It's a whole big, heavy
it's a heavy thing with a contraption, and you're steering the camera, and it's set on like a spring. It's a big contraption, but
and it's heavy and can mess with your back and has lots of downsides.
So that's an easy way to do it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Another thing, if we can show some of the videos, that what a lot of people should do with these is use them like a dolly or a crane.
Okay.
For your videos. If you see this shot right here, we're just going along with him, and while the camera's going one direction, we're going the opposite. Like we're trying to pan back with him, and it takes a little bit of practice to get a shot like that because you got to be aware of your surroundings. but it's called a parallax move. So these two are walking, just walking along with them. It's kind of like a dolly shot, and it also turns into a crane shot. We're going along with them, and as we get a little bit further along, we're pulling back with the camera as the quadcopter is still going the other direction, and then we push up. And it just looks like a nice crane shot, which, if you got a crane to go out there and do that, it'd take all kinds of rigging and very expensive. You can do it with a quadcopter fairly inexpensively. So
one of the things that we ran into trying to capture shots like that is that while you're flying, you're hooked to a device, a smartphone or a tablet that is showing you live the picture that's coming from the drone.
Right.
But it's hard to look at both.
Right.
It's hard to fly and know where you're going, especially if you're indoors in a location like this, or when you were out by that church, and still look at what your shot looks like to get that nice parallax at the same time.
Right. So some of these shots that you're seeing right now were shot also with the Inspire 1. Now that one has a controller for the pilot and one for a camera operator. That way I can keep my eyes on the drone, and a camera operator can keep their eyes on the screen and see what the shots we're getting. And it gets the legs up out of the way so you can get a shot like this, and you don't have to see any legs or props or anything like that. But you want to get stuff moving like you would do a jib or a dolly shot, going past the lens, and just gives you that really nice, smooth, kind of just like a dolly shot. This one's also like a crane shot. You're going around, the camera's going one direction while the copter's going the opposite.
Right, so you and I captured that together, and that's great when you're working with the Inspire 1 when you have, like you said, 2 controllers to work with. If you're working with one of the more consumer-friendly models, like the Phantom 3 that only has 1 controller, one thing that we always do is try to take a spotter with us. And it doesn't have to be somebody who knows anything about flying. It can be your 10-year-old.
Right.
And all they have to do is watch what's around you. So if you're watching the screen to get your shot, they can be like, okay, you're a little too close to that building or that tree. Somebody who's watching where your camera movement is.
The biggest thing is with these is you don't have the depth perception with them. If you get further away from you, you can't tell how close the props can be to a building or to a branch.
Because it's a super wide lens.
Yeah, and so you've got to have somebody watching it at all times because you can run into stuff and they'll take it right down out of the air, and then there goes your investment. Some of these are a little bit more robust. These are a lot more robust than the Inspire 1. That one breaks a little easier if it falls.
Those are kind of fragile, I think, right? No. Well, I'm not the only one that's crashed a copter. I mean, I can think of at least 3 or 4 people that work here that have crashed. You've crashed one.
Yeah.
But of course, you had an RF interference. We had interference with that.
And these are people that use them all the time, so you really can't just buy it and go out and start flying all over the place with it.
Practice is key. You got to get really good with the controls.
And especially now, like if you're going to be doing this stuff, you got to be up to date on all the laws and everything because that stuff's changing every day.
They update the software. It doesn't let you fly near airports or anything because people have gotten kind of stupid with it, and they've flown near airports and they've ruined it for a lot of people.
Specifically with DJI's things, I know that they govern quite a few things, like you said about the airport and the height. And there's a couple of, almost all of these have beginner modes as well that can really help walk you through that. But I love the idea of that parallaxing of moving one way and let the copter just glide and then turn the camera the other way and you get that real cinematic shot.
Yeah, that's what people should be using them for. As far as your video, I mean, you can go up and take pictures with them. They're great for that. But to get a nice movie quality look, high production look, get that camera going opposite direction that the copter's going.
I love that the technology has advanced so much that this new one doesn't even have propellers anymore. Like it's just.
Well, I brought it here just because you can use it, like I said, like as a
as a Steadicam, right?
Yeah.
Right. So. All right.
That was
Thank
a joke
you so
for
much,
those
Chuck.
who might not have gotten that.
You did an excellent job in the hot seat.
Thanks.
Woohoo! Go
All
Chuck.
right, moving right along. We've gone through quite a few of them.
Yeah, I think it's time for another quick break, and then when we come back, we have our very own Steve Nicolai here to talk about lighting a scene. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, my name is Adam Rorman. I want to welcome you to my class on shooting a music video. A music video generally has 2 parts to it. You shoot the band playing the song, then you shoot the separate narrative of the story that the song is trying to tell, put the 2 together, and that's your general recipe for shooting a music video. In this class, we're going to talk about concepts, scheduling, pre-production, securing locations, wardrobe, camera rigs, everything that you need to get creative with your DSLR. So I hope you'll come and check out my new class on Kelbyone.com.
Bringing you much great stuff about working with pilots, aircraft, safety, and most importantly, staying alive. So come along for the ride. Hey, what happened to the fan?
Create your own space at squarespace.com.
So, I'm looking in the chat a little bit. Everybody wants Chuck to talk with an accent.
At least the people that know Chuck that happen to be in the.
He actually does the best accents.
Yeah.
Probably, I would say close to on the planet. I mean, really, even like excellent comedians don't have anything on Chuck.
Yeah.
He's good at it. Maybe we'll have a whole grid episode where Chuck just does accents.
Maybe one of these days. So we had a little change of plans during the break, and instead of Steve Nicolai coming on right now, we're going to have him a little bit later. But for now, we have our very own Jessica Maldonado, the art director of Kelbyone Books.
Hi, guys.
How's it going, Jess?
Good. It's great to be on the set of The Grid. I've never been on this set before.
I know, it's kind of neat, right? And you even have this excellent poster behind you
I know.
that explains that
I know,
you're in
my
the hot seat. You
really
have beautiful red lighting, looking gorgeous.
It's my halo.
So one way to describe what you do here is you make Scott's books look good, right?
Yeah, well...
and the other books we do too, not just Scott's.
That's right. Every book, whether it's Scott or one of our other
RC
Photoshop
or
guys
Corey
or the outside authors, like
Frank
we just
or
produced
Peter
Hurley's book, Frank Dorhoff's book, all those good guys. And you already showed off my new pretty baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's a giveaway today. But what I'm going to show you guys today is just a quick little show and tell of how I got the gold cover, the gold camera on the cover.
I was like, is that a special edition camera?
Okay, so the right, I
Canon
wanted
made it just for us.
the concept I had for this book, since we have the digital photography book series, and this is the best of the digital photography book series, of course, volumes 1 through 5, or parts 1 through 5 as we call them, all had cameras on the cover. And I said, how can we make this special so that it sort of matches the others but stands out as well on the book stands or online? And my first instinct was, it has to be gold. It has to be like an Oscar or an Emmy, a bling, an award. And when I think I'm going to have something rendered in gold, who do I think of but our own Corey Barker? And my first instinct was, I'll have Corey render it in 3D for me, and that'll be the cover. But when we got it on the cover, I have it pulled up here in Photoshop.
Actually, they're saying, can you quit IVGA and restart it?
Can I quit IVGA?
So that they can see your computer again.
I can do that.
Okay, so while she's doing that, this is really cool. So what Corey basically did is a complete 3D image of the camera in gold. I mean, it looks like if you were going to have like a limited edition car or something like that.
It's so cool. It's super cool. And I was super impressed by Corey because I thought, I'm going to have to build this from scratch, right? But then when we got it on the cover, it was looking awesome. It was looking gold, but it wasn't looking enough like a camera to sell the idea.
It almost looks like the Terminator, like in its like liquid form.
Yeah, it was like a little too cool and shiny, and it wasn't really selling the whole photography
too cool
idea.
And shiny.
And then we tried simplifying it so that it didn't look so much like a woofer or a speaker or I mean, it was looking a little too award-like and
golden camera.
Not camera enough. But I was really married to this concept at this point. So I'm like, how can I save this? And whenever we have one of these books, our lovely Brad Moore shoots all the products for them.
I do.
And I said, well, I have all these cameras that Brad shot. How can I use them? But without having to kind of draw all the gold parts myself, and that's going to be a pain in the butt to kind of fake the gold in Photoshop. And I knew I could do it, but I knew it would take days and days. And of course, we have the whole rest of all these pages to produce as well.
There's a deadline, that small thing.
And it was a tight deadline. So then I remembered, and here's where it's really important to follow other artists online and share their work as well. I shared something from Lindsay Adler on Facebook back in August, and I said, Lindsay had this great golden goddess that she shot, and she had this post-processing technique that took this image so easily from regular to golden. And I have her image up here because it's stunning. I have to show it off and give her credit.
Wow, that's gorgeous.
I guess
we can't see it. We can't pull it
my
up.
Screen. Yeah, but anyway, if you go to Lindsay Adler's blog and look for that, just put in gold in her search and it'll come up. Basically, it's a white balance trick. It's being creative with your white balance and not having to start from scratch or draw everything or paint with styles and.
So wait, so this is done with your white balance?
Yes, she took the white balance and the clarity in Lightroom and totally pumped it up. And I think she probably did a few other things too, but I said, let me go ahead and apply that same concept to my book cover. And I had the regular layer of a black camera, and then I went ahead and I processed another version of the camera where I really bumped up the temperature all the way to the warm side, really pulled up the clarity, and then I just kept adding those bits of gold wherever I needed them, merging the layers, stamp visible, and clone it and merge it, and clone it and merge it, and then, very easily we wound up with our gold camera on the cover.
Right.
And it looks like it was custom made and shot for the cover, or like it was built from scratch, but it's really just a white balance trick and masking in Photoshop, and it's a super cool way of getting a shiny gold look.
Awesome.
Very neat.
Thank you so much.
I figured I'd share.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica.
And of course, plug the book.
Oh yeah, so there's this book that's coming out, and that you could win free today on the grid.
Yeah, totally.
But if you don't want to wait to win it, you can go to Kelbyone.com and go to the books and buy it yourself.
That's right. It's available at all your favorite fine retailers, or you can. Kelbyone members actually get it for 40% off the list price. So if you go by our site and go to the page for the book, you can download an excerpt and check out some of the cool tips. You can purchase it from us and get your 40% discount.
All right. Way to survive the hot seat,
That's
Jessica.
Go,
yeah.
Have a great show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Sure thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's super talented.
Yes, very, very talented.
And I'm not saying that because she's just right here. I mean, really, she's super talented at what she does.
Yeah. We're big fans of Jess around here. All right, up next, we've got Adam Rohrman, one of our longest-running video team members.
Yeah, I've been here for, I think, 8 years. 8 or 9 years, something like that.
I think 9, because I've been here for 8 this month.
Been 9.
So he's not just a video. He's also, when we were talking about the Steadicam earlier, that's this guy. He shoots all of our classes on Steadicam, and he's also a director here and has just taught 2 classes recently, one on music videos, making a music video, and then...
I taught one last year on camera rigs and supports, and then I taught one this year on shooting a music video on DSLR, which was a lot of fun.
And you actually have some tips for us today about really shooting portraits, right?
Yeah, shooting people, when you shoot people, there's always this standard still shot that, my mom always wanted us to get when I was kids because I would be goofing off, and she's like, come on, take a nice picture. Get a nice picture like this. This picture of me, my mom, my brother, that's the kind of photo that my mom likes and has, framed and,
so young.
and hung in the house. And in the next photo, once again, is here's my mom, my dad, me, and my brother at a wedding. Very stale, boring, not a whole lot going on photo, of my family. But these are the kind of photos that, take a nice picture.
Well, and what's really hard is this is the photo people want you to get when you're there. They all line up and they get ready and they're like, okay, take it now.
Right. So my uncle Paul was visiting from Texas a few years ago. My mom was like, "Get your camera, take a picture." You know, and my mom doesn't talk like that, but that's always my impersonation of my mother. So
she's actually the sweetest lady.
She is. So I went and got, I went and got my DSLR, and they went and stood by the fireplace there. And as I was like, just hold on, I get my camera settings right. And I'm getting camera settings right and taking a few pictures. Then as soon as they know, hey, I'm ready to take your picture. This was the photo that I got of my, no,
oh, sorry.
Just keep it on that one. That's the photo that I got, right? Plenty of headroom, looks great. Now, my Uncle Paul passed away the following year. He lived in Texas, so this was the last time my mother and my uncle saw each other. So I had gone back through the photos and trying to find something maybe that my mother hadn't seen before. And that's when I came across this photo. And this was when my uncle and my mom were just standing there, waiting for me to get the camera ready, waiting for me to take the picture that they knew I was going to take. But to me, this is the photograph. I mean, look at the way my mom's looking at her brother. And
absolutely.
So the next photo. These are a lot of my mother, by the way.
It's about getting the shot before the shot, is what it sounds like, or after the shot.
So many times you take photos of people that are set up, like this one of my mom and my Aunt Bonnie again. This is my mom and my Aunt Bonnie. We went up to Pittsburgh for my godfather's 80th birthday. My mother's like, "Come out on the porch and get a picture of me and your Aunt Bonnie." So the lighting here is terrific, as you can see. But same thing, I did the same thing. I was like, just go stand there and let me let me dial in some settings here. And while I was doing that, I got this photograph.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Where's the photo? What's the photograph? That's the photograph, not the boring one of them standing there looking at me.
Right.
So as we go inside the party, next photo. This is a picture of my godfather, Uncle Bob, and my mom. This is the photo where they know I'm taking the picture, and then this is the photo where they didn't know I was taking the picture. Right.
Right. So what you're saying is. Even though everybody is expecting you to shoot when they're looking and they're ready, be shooting the whole time. Shoot before and shoot after. Shoot the whole time.
And you can. And the thing is,
misdirection or
when most people get in front of a camera, they get like my brother will do this. For instance, as soon as you pull up a camera, his face changes when he knows you're going to take a picture of him, and he looks different. So if you can get a picture of my brother without him knowing it, that's what he normally looks like. So a lot of people do these fake poses, or they turn, or whatever. So lie to them. Say, I'm just getting some settings here on my camera. You guys just relax. And that's when people are going to be joking around and doing things like this. So once again,
I could totally see this working at a wedding, because that's when you always get those. And you shoot quite a few weddings, right?
I do shoot a lot of weddings. I have a couple examples of that further on. But so we go inside. Here's a picture of my mom, my Aunt Bonnie again. They know I'm taking the picture. 30 seconds later.
Right.
They don't know I'm taking that picture.
Got it. Right.
And then for my mom's 70th birthday this year, we flew my Aunt Bonnie down. My Aunt Bonnie's waiting in my back room and walks in and surprises my mom. I got one photo off my cell phone, and that was the photo I took of my mom and my Aunt Bonnie surprising my mom. I don't have any photos of them posed from that day. That's the only photo I have. That's the only photo I need, right?
Right, exactly.
So you're probably asking, like you said, how is this going to work into my business life or professionally? So I do shoot a lot of weddings and stuff. So this is a picture from the very first wedding I ever shot. And they wanted to, let's go down, once again, plenty of headroom. They're like, let's go down to the water and, we'll get a picture by the water, because it's,
right.
That's a great photo. So I take the pictures at the water, right? But as I'm walking back to the reception, they're kind of laughing and giggling and stuff, and I just held my camera down and I'm firing away.
So you're hip shooting.
As they're walking towards me, I'm shooting blind, and I got that photo. So which is the photo? The one before?
Right.
That one? Is that the one you want on the mantle, or that one?
Right.
Shebang. Okay.
You don't own that, but you're right. Nice.
This is one more final example I have from a wedding that I shot. And this is, I shot my friend Helen's wedding. This is my friend Helen, her mother, and her grandma, which we call Nan. So this was Helen, her mother, and Nan. And this was the photo that I gave her in her wedding package from that, little setup with her and her grandma and her mother. And then last year, her nan passed away. And
right.
I went back through the photos because I wanted to see if I had a photo of her grandma that I didn't give her, that maybe I could give her as a gift that she didn't have before. So I found this photo, and I printed it out, put an 8x10 frame. I met her for dinner like a week later, and I handed her this photo, and she was like, because usually when you think you have to deliver a photo to people, you want that photo before, because some people be like, well, she's not even looking at the camera. This isn't a good picture, right?
Right.
But to me, she's looking at her daughter's laughing, grandma's smiling and looking awesome. So once again, which is the better photo? Which one has more emotion?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right, well,
Good
great
tips,
advice
Adam.
there, Adam.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You've survived the hot seat.
I have.
Excellent.
Go Pirates.
Well, he's not a Pittsburgh fan, in case you can't tell, right? Okay, so coming
while we're
up-
transitioning, that actually reminds me, I'm working my way through Friends right now, and there's an episode of Friends where...
Oh, I thought you meant like in real life. Like the ones that you have now are no longer any good, and we're moving on.
No, there's an episode of Friends where Chandler and Monica are trying to take like formal pictures,
Yeah.
and Chandler always makes this weird face as soon as they take the picture, but he's never makes that face in real life. So it kind of just that's Adam's tips made me think of that, because his
Right.
brother, like what he looks like in pictures isn't what he looks like in person.
Right.
So you get the candid moments.
Exactly.
So thanks, Chandler and Monica.
Bring you that Friends moment. Okay, for our next hot seat. So this can't actually be in the hot seat.
Yeah.
We had to set up something special. A lot of you might know something about portrait lighting and that kind of thing, but actually expanding beyond portrait lighting to an entire scene can be a little more challenging.
Because you're not just lighting a face or a body, you're lighting a room.
Right, and you want to bring depth and dimension and make it really 3D.
Yeah.
So that's why we asked Steve Nicolai. So he is the head of our video department here, but he's also an excellent lighting guy.
master.
He is I'm not gonna call him master of light, but for our video department, for our shoots here, he's excellent at it, and he's going to explain to us really a demonstration of how to light a scene.
You ready, Steve?
Oh, I'm so ready. Thanks, Brad and Mia. Yeah, what I want to try to do here is kind of just show you the concept behind lighting a scene. As I look at it and I say, okay, what kind of feel do I want to go for as far as lighting a particular scene? Now, we've kind of pre-lit this to kind of get us, because we don't have a lot of time to talk about all this. So I've got my stand-in Phil, great actor here. He works here in the company, but he's going to be our model. But basically, we've lit him a little bit with our key light, which is your main source of light. Now, if you come over here, you'll see we've got three sources of light in here. I've got 2 fluorescent lights and one 1K light that's banking through a soft silk light, or silk fill. Now, what that provides for us is it gives us a much softer light. What it's going to help us do is it's going to soften the shadows on him. As you look at him on the other camera here, you can see we've got a nice fall off right around in here. So the shadows aren't real harsh. They're not real, cutting across here. It gives us a little bit more of a nice, comfortable feel. But basically, whenever you look at a scene, you want to light it, you still apply the 3 principles of 3-point lighting. Your key, your fill, and your backlight. And then from there, you kind of accent it with just little accent lights to kind of help give you dimension to the whole scene as you see it. So now I'm going to come over here and see if Arnaldo can follow me, but I'm going to turn on the fill light. Now what Phil is going to do, as we like to call him, Phil's coming on the set, Phil is going to fill face with a little extra fill to kind of drop off those shadows a little bit, as you see on the camera here. And it just gives a little bit more dimension. It's still a little bit modeled. And what I mean by modeled is it's giving him still a little dimension, a little shadow in here. If he was a female, I'd probably light him a little more frontal, just to kind of help wash out the face, because women tend to have more of a rounded face, and you want to kind of just take away any kind of flaws on their face and make it look more smooth. But for him, he's got much more angles to his face. He's got a nice strong jawline. So I want to kind of accent that. So now, I look up here, what we've already set up is a backlight. Now what the backlight's doing is it's going to hit him across his shoulders, and it's going to hit the back of his head. And what that creates for us is just a little separation from the background. It gives us an idea that we're getting some light coming from, say, the windows that we have in the background on the set. Now, to accent the idea of the shadow or the light coming through these different windows, we've created some blinds. As you can see here, there's some shadows that look like some blinds. So what we actually did, we set up a light up here. And what did we shoot it through?
Nice.
Blinds. What else? It makes a perfect shadow for blinds. So we've created that. Now what does that do for us? That creates a little bit of dimension in the set, creates a little more separation, and also highlights some of the darker areas of the set. So it gives it a little more life, gives it a little more dimension, shadowing, and also pops some of the colors, and yet making some of the other ones fall off, and makes the set look a little more real. So it really feels like a home set. Now we're obviously just on a set here in the studio, but yet you kind of get the feel like we're actually at somebody's house, right? Now, I'm going to add one more light. So say I want a little something separating him a little bit right in here. So I come and we call this an edge light. Some call it a greaser. And we just hit him just on the side of his face. And it just gives a little bit of hint of light. Now that's going to help accent again. As you see, it kind of helps accent again, hit the edge of his face, gives him a little separation, gives it a little more contour to his jawline, and just makes him look just, you know, I don't know, more heroic, if you will. And it just gives us that nice feel, and again, it kind of gives us the idea that maybe there's another light that's from over here that's casting in. So now we've got pretty much everything lit. Now, if we were going for a wide shot, in this set in particular, that's actually being used for a shoot that we are doing on production here, we've got another camera that's set up right here that's doing a wide shot. It comes back and forth. So now I've got a corner over here that needs to be accented a little bit. So what we've done, just to add a little accent, we've put this chest right here, and behind it, I've put a little light on a little pigeon stand, and I'm casting just a little glow on top of it. So it's not too bright. I've put it on a dimmer just to kind of control that light, not make it too bright, not too overpowering, but yet it gives it just a little accent and makes this dark area just pop just a little bit and gives it a little more life, and, you know, kind of gives it a nice feel. So it's just a matter of still applying the 3-point lighting techniques, and then from there, you can pretty much grow and set up your whole set to where you want it to give it a little more dimension. And it just is a matter of how many lights you want to put into it. But if you follow just the 3-point lighting, you're pretty much good to go. So again, your key light is going to pretty much be your main source of light, and that can come from much frontal to more of a 45-degree angle. It can actually come from the very back and be the sunlight coming through, and then you can kind of fill in from there. And then you also have your backlight. So again, it's the 3-point lighting, your fill, your key, your fill, and your backlight, and you're good to go. And then from there, you just add on to it. So that's pretty much how I got it for you guys. How's that sound?
I think that sounds great. But Steve, I have to ask,
Yes.
you know, because a couple of people, you have some friends in the chat who just want to hear one time you say those magic 3 words.
Wait, well, there's 2 of them I have. Which is just one. Get to the chopper.
That's it. Yeah, that's what we want to hear.
Come on, it's time to get to the chopper. Let's go. Come on now.
So, our hot seat time.
It's apparently getting very hot here.
It's melted. We've melted the tape. Woo. You know why? Steve just burned it right off with that, because that was excellent tips on lighting.
Hot tips with Steve.
Yep, lighting fill. So, all right.
Good stuff.
So we got to wrap things up here, right?
Yeah, we're actually, we hit it right on the money. It is 5 o'clock exactly.
We didn't do that by design.
No, not at all, actually. All right, first, we've got a Peach Pit ebook deal for you. You can get 40% off of the book, Shooting in Poopy Light, with Eric Valland and Lindsay Adler. Just go to peachpit.com/Kelby1 and enter the code Kelby1, and you can learn how to conquer poopy light.
Also, the giveaways that we told you about, you might, if this is your first time, you might be wondering how to win these giveaways.
So again, the giveaways are a beginner's guide to wildlife photography, download, aerial video and photography using quadcopters, download, the brand spanking new, I don't even know if it's available in stores yet. We got our own preview box.
I mean, they just arrived.
Scott Kelby's brand new, the best of the digital photography book series. The step-by-step secrets for how to make your photos look like the pros.
And 2 Down and Dirty books.
Yes.
Volume 1, Volume 2.
Corey Barker.
From Corey
Down
Barker.
and Dirty Tricks for Designers. get those.
If you want to win these, all you have to do is go to kelby1.com/contest and pick the show that you watch, which is The Grid.
The Grid.
Put your name and your email, fill out the information. Under comments, just say which prize you'd like to win.
Yeah, so go do that.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, what do we have here next week? Is there anything going on here next week? I think Scott's actually back, so it will probably be a relatively normal show next week.
Yeah. There's a couple of classes coming out this week. One on navigating Photoshop and the one on Phantom 3.
Yes. Are those yours?
Quadcopters. They are.
Our own Mia McCormick with 2 new classes coming out tomorrow on Kelbyone. So go check those out. And I usually try to say something about the guest blog on Scott's blog, so go check out Calibra Kelby's special guest blog on scottkelby.com today. Really good stuff.
We hope you guys enjoyed the hot seat. See you next week.
See ya. Bye-bye.